Oh, hi. You're probably wondering why we're sitting in the back seat of a car.
Yeah, so am I, and I hope it's not for the wrong reasons.
Well, we're here because this is the first four-door sports car from Porsche, the Panamera.
And not just any Porsche. I mean, you know, a lot of people start to think that when Porsche goes to things like, say, for example, the Cayenne, sport utilities, that they're just doing it to appease the market. But this is something completely unto itself. The press pictures really didn't do it justice, but I'm telling you, now that we're actually in the back seat and realizing how much comfort is here, I mean, it really is as good as sitting in the front.
And when you consider that we've driven it on the racetrack,
Oh yes.
and found out that it's got some serious mojo to it, this is a Porsche.
Let's take a look under the hood.
All right. Well, here's where the fun begins. A 4.8-liter direct fuel injection V8 with Variocam variable valve timing.
You know, 400 horsepower out of this, Kelly, 369 foot-pounds of torque. And I have to admit, for any V8 going into a Porsche, this is actually one of the ones that doesn't look like it's going to be a servicing nightmare. I mean, you can see the coil on the plug system, so it's all very much in play, in place, easy to access. Even the access to the accessory belt drive, because you know what? A lot of people have maybe been shying away from Porsche because of maintenance costs, but I think they're starting to realize that if people want to keep them for the long term, you've got to have that going on underneath the hood. Now, it's mated to the 7-speed PDK. Now, we're not going to try to pronounce it because our German's not that good, but it's basically a dual clutch, automatically controlled transmission.
Yeah, it's not an automatic, it's like an automated manual transmission. And there is a difference.
Now, you can shift it manually in the sense of using the steering wheel paddles as well as using the shifter itself, but there's no clutch pedal, so you don't have to worry about using a clutch or topping up clutch fluid.
I would like a clutch pedal. That'd be fun.
I would too. And of course, but I have to tell you, you and I both know after driving as many Porsches as we do, that the PDK is faster than your brain.
It's faster than your brain.
It's faster than our brains put together.
That's
because
right.
It's that quick.
The one clutch tees up the odd set of gears, and the other clutch tees up the even set of gears. So when it has to switch gears, it's like bang, and it switches.
This sounds too much like math. You know what? Let's take a look inside and show them exactly how that looks.
All right. So as we mentioned outside, the car has a PDK transmission with a manual shift gate on the shifter, or cool little sliders on the steering wheel. You push them forward to shift up and you pull them back to shift down. And it works pretty slick.
You know, it's nothing like the typical paddles that we've experienced, because we've also found some of the paddles out there to be a little, how do I put it, springy.
I found that in high-speed driving, it was possible to accidentally activate a gear shift.
Well,
which in the middle of a corner could be a little hairy.
Depending on palm placement especially, but of course the wheel does have proper thumb locators. It's a purpose-built wheel. The one thing I really like is the access to the multi-information display. Now that's done on the right-hand side of the wheel. The wheels, in regards to the actuator wheels for the information, the volume control and such on this wheel, they almost remind me of the track wheel on a BlackBerry. So they're very comfortable to use. But, you know, I think the thing that we really got to do a little bit more talking about is the center tunnel and the control bank that they put into that. That is, in my opinion, the way that dashboard technology should be leading.
It is sculpture.
It absolutely is sculpture, because too many dashboards have taken too many switches and put them right on the dashboard itself. And unfortunately, what happens when you start looking for switches that you can't find? Where do your eyes go?
They follow the switches.
They follow the switches away from the roadway, and considering what this particular Porsche can do, that's not something you ever want to be thinking about.
Well, you know, Mike, one of the things that comes with a 4-passenger car is you have to have space for their stuff.
Well,
and this thing's got lots of space for stuff.
Well, let's take a look at exactly just how much space. Now, of course, we've got a power lift gate, you know, pretty much expected for the 6-figure mark. But it also has a very robust cargo area cover, so it'll keep things away from pry bar eyes, as I like to call them. How many times have you actually thought that you can go and pick up furniture in a Porsche?
Do tell.
Do tell. Well, let me show you exactly what I mean.
The Porsche Panamera has so much space, it's even got room for an automotive journalist.
Hello. How you doing, Kelly?
I'm good, how are you?
Take a look at the size inside this thing. I mean, come on, you gotta take a closer look at this, because not only can you remove that cargo cover really easily, you can put both seats down. Now, when I first looked in the back of this thing and I saw the way that the bucket arrangement was, I thought, no way is it gonna fold down and give you any kind of usable room. But not only do you get room, but you get flatness. It's a very practical vehicle. I think the thing that we want to get across to people is that with the amount of room in here, you may want to be thinking about the Panamera if you were first coming to the table on the Cayenne territory. Well, Kelly, as expected, there's no spare tire in the back of the Porsche Panamera. Or is there?
Here's your spare tire. This is basically fix a flat in a bottle. You inject this into your tire, you pump it up with the compressor that they supply, and you should be back on the road.
So it's Wonder Goo.
Basically. The Porsche Panamera, what can I say? It leaves me speechless when I look at it. It's just so beautiful.
Well, it really comes down to a new design signature for Porsche. I mean, we've had a heck of a lot of fun over the years in 911s and Boxsters and Caymans and in various versions of Cayenne. But this is something that has really broken the mold. This has taken Porsche into new uncharted territory, and man, did they nail it.
Well, and you know, they did the four-door sedan, I think, better than they tackled the SUV market. And they did a very good job on the SUV market, but this just hits on all notes.
This is the new interpretation of four-door sedan. This is something completely different. The functionality for cargo, the extreme comfort that occurs for both front and rear passengers. There's more room that you know what to do with. The technology level, and also putting that technology within reach, simplistic, yet very intuitive.
And just incredibly fun to drive.
Incredibly fun to drive.
The power, the turbo, remember the turbo?
Oh, I remember the turbo.
Oh my gosh. And then, you know, even the 4S was a whole lot of fun.
Well, you remember too that there is a point where there's only so much power that you're going to be able to use. Now, what I really like that Porsche has done with the Panamera is the availability of the 4, the all-wheel drive version, in both V6 and V8 configurations. This is a vehicle that begs to be driven in a Canadian winter.
Right, and it's got a reasonable starting point for $88,000 for the V6.
True.
For this level of luxury, that's not unheard of. And it goes up to 150, 190 when you really max out with the turbo.
Well, the beautiful thing about a Porsche is that whether you go for the entry level or you go upscale, you're never going to be in a situation where you feel like you've dumbed it down.
Exactly. So that's our take on the Porsche Panamera. For the road trip, I'm Kelly Taylor.
And I'm Michael Clark. We'll see you next time.